Welcome everybody to the Area 111 live stream. This is your host RH coming at you again from the beautiful sunshine state of Florida. Okay, that echo means we are live. Audio is working on YouTube. And let me check Rumble real quick. I'll be right back for those that are on YouTube. Now, YouTube is my primary go-to site for my live stream, so it's not like I'm neglecting Rumble, but every video that I do, every live stream is recorded and stored over on Rumble, so you can watch the live streams in its entirety. Now, while I'm going, I like y'all to pay very close attention to that avatar, and I'm going to talk about the reason why I shared it tonight. Obviously, I'm going to talk first about what's very troubling, the mainstream media calling out real-time positions of U.S. military operations. And I'm going to have the facts and you'll have the source reference. Now, this has happened before. I've watched this very closely before in an operation. Let me I have to go back to my source references, so bear with me. Protective Edge, I believe, was the name of the operation. That was in 2014. I actually watched mainstream media. I won't call out the outlet because I don't remember if it was actually CNN or not, but they were calling out real-time IDF ground troop movements. Okay, remember when they were trying to take care, seal up those tunnels and protect the wall and that kind of thing? Remember that? So I watched that very closely. Now that avatar photograph is actually Mount Nebo, and that is where Moses, I believe he was taken up to Mount Nebo or guided up, or he went up there himself. But basically, God showed him the promised land that the Israel would obtain, the promised land. That's the promised land looking out over what parts of what is now known as Israel, the state of Israel. Now, remember the reason why Moses could not enter into the promised land. I want y'all to dwell on that a little bit, and I'm going to basically dispel some certain comments made in chat. Okay, certain major influencers, certain major influencer channels. We're talking about mega channels, who they allow to speak on their channel. You know, hey, it's, freedom of speech, right? But where do you draw the line in actual real-time military operations and talking about free speech? And basically saying there's going to be a regime change in Israel, and basically call working with the IRGC and the Islamic State of Iran. We're talking about the radical ones version of that, right? Of those that are in charge. And basically saying stuff like, okay, well, when there's 5,000 body bags basically brought back to the United States, basically President Trump will have to resign or worse. Now, vocalizing that throughout the entire world for anybody to listen. Now, we have the people, the majority of people on the other side of the aisle, they have their government, our government still shut down as far as the Department of Homeland Security is, concerned. And how does that jeopardize our overall national security? They want President Trump to fail. And it looks like to me they're all in, whether it takes the death of our patriotic men and women serving in uniform right now, involved in those operations, or anywhere else around the world, whether it involves that the demise of those individuals, they think that that's okay. That's their mindset. Going out there chanting, from the river to the sea, that's genocide. Basically, they would form an entire circle around the state of Israel and will make it where Israel can have no way to defend its own country, its own sovereignty. If they were successful in doing that and circling all of Israel, that's all I'm going to say. It's not a two-state solution. It's not a two-state solution. The solution is the demise of the state of Israel in its entirety. They do not even recognize Israel as a legitimate country. Now we're looking out here, this photograph of Mount Nebo, that's history. That's history of the three Abrahamic religions. That's history. That's true history. So now, where's the receipts that the mainstream media is basically calling out real-time positions, U.S. military forces positions? And I know the reason why they're calling out a certain movement. I know the reason why. I alluded to it earlier. One of those Free Palestine. By the way, again, I'm going to keep saying this, and it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. There was never, ever a country called Palestine. There's never, ever in the history of this planet was there a country called Palestine. There was never, ever a kingdom called Palestine. Never, ever in world history of this planet. There was a country or land in Gaza and up in Syria that was called the people were called Philistines. They were not called Palestinians, Philistines. And that's where Goliath came from. Goliath was a Philistine. Now the country or up in Syria was called Philistia. That was a Roman Empire construct. That was, are y'all listening to me again? Listen to me again. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to the truth that you don't want to, but there's no way we can dispel these rumors and basically try to talk some sense into people that are out there going against, if you would really want to be truthful, going against their own survival, because they're trying to aid and abet the individuals that are have been calling death to America for decades. That's who they're trying to aid and abet. And most of them are nothing more than a bunch of mercenaries, paid mercenaries. They have no allegiance to our country or any other country, as far as that goes. Their allegiance is only to themselves and their love of money. Okay? So let's remember this. Remember this avatar picture. Keep this in your mind. That was Moses looking out over the promised land. Why was Moses Why could not Moses enter the promised land? I'm going to dispel a rumor of a bunch of rumors. I've heard it from many times, you know, and, I'm not going to talk about myself as far as personal attacks go. That's a whole nother story, which I don't want to bring up or have the desire to bring up that on, for the whole world to hear. That's, something I got to work out and pray a lot. So, okay, so y'all are waiting for the source reference. And please stick around once I provide the source reference, if you will. Far as the mainstream media calling out real-time U.S. military positions. Okay. Now, the place card holder video on Rumble for tonight's live stream is a short clip of Norm Eisen's, I don't know, Norm Eisen. Who's Norm Eisen? Who cares about Norm Eisen? I really don't care about Norm Eisen, but he's sitting there talking and using a military term, basically eject, right? He's basically said in that little interview that they were going to eject President Trump out of office. That's a military term. In my opinion, Norm Eisen was White House counsel for the Biden administration. He's been an integral figure of the lawfare against our country, if you want to look at it in the right aspect. He's actually trying to take down the United States of America. Being part of the broader criminal conspiracy to overthrow our duly elected government, our duly elected president. They were all part of it, which, includes the propaganda, the psychological warfare operations and the propaganda, which still is ongoing. You can go on basically every single operation nearly that we've conducted. You can go and just to do a simple search, right? And you'll see how they're flooding the zone with their psychological warfare operation of propaganda against President Trump. Now, remember in on October 17th of 2019, CNN put out an article, which was an actual Moody study from top-level economists. Titled that study, you can Google search it right now. It's a fact. Democrats need to sharpen their attacks on the Trump economy. That's what they're trying to do with this stuff going on in the Middle East. That's a big reason why they're doing it. They ramped up the threats and ramped up their operations covertly, right? And man, it's a mess. And it's amazing how our president is basically countering all this criminal corruption and mass murder, you name it, how he's countering it and preventing it, trying his best to prevent it from happening again. Now, remember, the Democrats in majority shut down our government. They shut down our national security, if you want to tell the truth. They shut down basically President Trump's security team, the U.S. Secret Service. They shut it down. That's part of the Department of Homeland Security. That's how the U.S. Secret Service agents are funded. These people are traitors. They are nothing more than traitors. That's who they are. They're not politicians. They're just thugs in a suit, the majority of them. When we are at a major military operations or operations plural with a state sponsor of terrorism and also terrorist organization, they are at war with us. They shut our government down. They shut the means to protect ourselves, to present, in my opinion, kill boxes to actually kill people they don't like. This is what it boils down to. Okay, giant voice, mainstream media calling out real-time U.S. military positions. They are not only calling out real-time military positions, they are tracking our military operations and movements and calling them out real time, just like in 2014. I want to get the mission straight. Hold on a second. Stand by. Protective edge, just like in 2014. Okay, that's Biden again, right? 2014, I watched with my own eyes a mainstream media outlet calling out IDF movements, real-time movements on the ground. Okay? They're calling out right now, they're calling out potential operations of ground troops in the battlefield, the battlefield operation area. That's what they're calling out. Not only are they calling it out, the real-time positions, not only they've been doing that to the President of the United States, they have done it to Bibi Netanyahu. I've already watched them do that. Bibi Netanyahu with a small entourage of reporters. There might have been other protection around him, but he visited one of the cities or villages or whatever that was damaged to the IRGC's attack on Israel or one of the other proxies that attacked there. I watched them. They showed his location where he was actually on the ground at a previous location that was attacked by the IRGC, right, and their leadership. So that was about, I think about a week ago. It wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago. So actually calling out the attacks. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the operation that I watched with my own eyes as it unfolded, the mainstream media calling out ground movements of the IDF. Okay, so where's the smoking gun that the mainstream media is actually calling out real-time positions of our military movements? That's an OPSEC violation at minimum. Now listen to the way this is worded. This is from MSN. Listen to the way it's worded. They act like they're going to put in some of these words right, and it's going to basically keep them out of hot trouble, hot water, whatever. U.S. warship believed to be carrying additional Marines to Middle East tracked off Singapore. Tracked. They're tracking our own military movements. Guess what? They have access to satellite imagery, and satellite imagery, which includes movements. They have that ability to tap into. And there's a lot of people in our government that hates this president that much. They will do anything to see him fail, even taking down their own country, sharpening their attacks on our economy. They called the Trump economy. That came out from mainstream media outlet CNN on October 17th of 2019. Please go search that. The very next day, at Event 201 Global Pandemic Exercise based on a new coronavirus, they told us how they were going to attack our economy. See, they don't mind if we all get hurt or damaged, whatever, our financial livelihoods get destroyed, as long as they get their target. And their target is President Trump. The time for this treason stuff has got to end. And it's got to end quick. Unbelievable what these people are able to say in the mainstream media live in front of the whole world. That's not a free press. Free press, we're supposed to be basically guaranteed a free press. That's in our U.S. Constitution as part of the First Amendment, right? Our First Amendment rights, a free press. We still do not have a free press. It's a bunch of hacks pretending to be journalists. That's all they are. They're reading from scripts. Majority of them are reading Mockingbird Media scripts to this day. Okay, this is from MSN. U.S. warships believed to be carrying additional Marines to Middle East tracked off Singapore. Tracked. That was 5 hours ago. Story by Brad Linden and Isaac Yee, CNN. So MSN is basically just posting a CNN article, sharing it. So what do we see on that photograph when we scroll down on that article? The USS Tripoli, LHA-7, amphibious assault ship enters the Singapore Straits as seen from Singapore on Tuesday, March 17th. That's today. So what are they saying? They're carrying additional troops. U.S. Navy warship believed to be carrying Marines and sailors to the Middle East is nearing the Malacca Strait off Singapore as it makes its way to the region. Maritime tracking data showed. Maritime tracking data. So they're watching, they're tracking it off of our own, well, off of the world's maritime tracking. You know, they can't cloak that. Oh, that's maritime rules, right? Call out real-time positions of U.S. military forces when they're in a military conflict or involved in a war that Iran basically started years ago against the U.S. Remember, death to America? What do you think that entails? President Trump is clear about this, and we are too. There's no misunderstanding on our part or the part of the president. Believe me, there isn't. We have no tolerance for traitors. Zero tolerance. We don't care what you believe. And some of these people wasn't even riding around in their damn big wheel. They weren't even crawling yet when we were serving our military honorably. They weren't even born yet. Okay, so this is very disturbing, and I've seen it way too often. And believe me, I don't want to use any names like high level, like flag officers, that kind of deal, generals, whatever, admirals, that kind of thing. I don't want to talk about other people because I'm a person that they don't know who I am. I might be controversial to them, controversial, right? Because I'm a Christian. I remember when I went through in basic training, went through supply. They ran us through supply. They offered us to give us a Bible, just the New Testament, a little Bible, the New Testament Bible. Now I don't remember. I took it. I don't remember what version of that Bible it was, but the the NIV, the New International Version, hasn't come into existence yet before I basically got that copy of that New Testament. So it wasn't just the New Testament portion of the NIV because it didn't come out yet, or it came out earlier than that. I don't believe. Never mind. That's all I'll say for that, as far as that goes right now. The KJV, by the way, was the most popular Bible up to 1978. After 1978, the most purchased Bible was the NIV. And the reason being is because some people believe that the archaic language was, not modernized enough for the current English language, and that's what happened. But basically, the King James Version Bible is the most, basically, I think, the most sold ever in the history, far as the world, far as Christian Bibles are concerned. I think it's the most sold, even though the NIV took over the first place in popularity beginning in 1978. So you think about all the grandparents, our parents, our grandparents, and all that stuff that still has their Bible today, the KJV. So it was, I think, the most purchased Bible in the history of the planet. So the devil likes divide and conquer, so that he'll go after certain things like that, right? To attack people's faith. And that's evil as evil can get. Having amateurs, people not very knowledgeable, to go out there and attack our Bible and our foundation without doing any research and finding out where that attack's coming from. That's a socialist communist attack, basically, which started the attack on the KJV, came out around 1998, 2001, and 2003, 2004 era. We talked about the rainbow enlightening symbol of that certain club of socialists and communists. We talked about on this channel, what I talked about on this channel, the Communist Manifesto that was planned in advance to be released at dark 30 in the New York Times before the first plane hit the first tower. That was planned in advance. So did the New York Times have foreknowledge of explosive demolitions being placed in the trade towers and possibly even in Building 7? Maybe even also in the Pentagon. The title of that Communist Manifesto, from the Counterfeit Rainbow Enlightening Symbol organization, was titled No Regrets for the Love of Explosives, memoir of sorts. You can go read it yourself. It talks about transforming our country. It talks about uh, disrupting the Western nuclear cell of the family. It's all there. Attacking new vehicles, bombing government buildings, the whole 9 yards. Now, there's many people, and I won't bring up their names, have said there's no way that those commercial aircraft would be able to take down the entire trade tower buildings. Remember, building 7, trade tower 7, was a iron frame building. I think it was actually 40 something stories tall. I think it was 47. I can't remember. But trade tower 7, pull it. Remember the term pull it? Well, right now we're going to concentrate on this, but while these people are still alive, I think they should interview them. Make them raise the right hand. I don't know. You get enough information. That's treason. That's Gitmo type stuff. No Regrets for the Love of Explosives. Now think about this. It was planned to be released at dark 30 in the New York Times at the newspaper stands before the first plane hit the tower. And how many of the first responders have we heard witness hearing secondary explosions going off in the towers? Both, not just the one tower, but the second tower as well. No, I've seen what looks like an exit hole on the far as the Pentagon building where that was struck. There's an exit hole. I don't know if that was photoshopped or not, but I didn't see landing gear type stuff. I didn't see any type of like uh, landing gear or anything like any major part. I never saw that when they were basically cleaning out the debris. I don't think there was actually a true investigation in that debris field. I think they hauled it away. What I'm trying to say is, in conjunction with that plane, if it was a plane, I'm pretty sure it was a plane. I believe there was explosive demolitions that went off in the Pentagon as well. Remember September 11th, the day after, I can't remember. Donald Rumsfeld said that there was $2.3 trillion basically in missing receipts as far as the Pentagon. He blamed it on Ike, what do you call it? Basically obsolete financial system that the Pentagon was using to track all these payments, but archaic bookkeeping or whatever. You know what I mean? So that was the day before. The day before. Is that a coincidence? Could be. I don't know. I'm not a law enforcement official. So it is so sickening, the hatred for President Trump. I would basically go through that White House press corps, so-called press corps, and basically we need neutral journalists or objective journalist. You don't have to be neutral. You can actually claim a side, but be objective at least. If you're not even objective, listen, the whole world is hearing all this. Majority of it's garbage. They they clamp down on some of it, but it's still out there. Some of the most ridiculous questions, and trying, like there was the Irish um, leader here, from the leader from Ireland, and I think it was in the White House today. He was in the White House today, and some of the questions and the screaming, that kind of thing, the screaming. Come on now, we could do it more professional than that. It's ridiculous. You hear these screaming at them. I mean, I'd have to wear earplugs or something. That hyena type screeching, you know, is ridiculous. There's got to be something, and we got to restore our free press. We have to. I don't care if that means defunding them. If taxpayers are not funding a free press, we should basically defund it, period. No, this is seriously, those people that are doing that, oh, power, we're basically checking power and all this BS. You know, it's all mind wash. We know who those people are. A lot of them are working for the agency or agencies, plural, both foreign and domestic. Believe me, they're being paid to read off those scripts. The same old song and dance, my friend. Hey, Ken, good to see you. Yeah, they should probably been on lockdown. Now I do have to. Oh yeah, multiple military bases. Let me post this. Put that on top. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Yeah. Uh, Now the whole world knows about. CENTCOM, Central Command. We're located. Just a few days ago, there was a package found in the MacDill Visiting Center. It's a big building, I think. I haven't been that way in a long time. I haven't been that way in a long time. But in that area or in the state, whatever, in a long time. But yeah, they found a suspicious package, and they did the right thing. They basically closed down the visitor center. So remember, a lot of people can get in there, and remember, strike terror in the hearts. Strike terror in the hearts of those that don't believe exactly what they believe in. Exactly. You have to be exact. Oh, anyways, you have to be exact. So why was Moses? Let's go back to this Mount Nebo. Now that sign there is like what we see far as historic places, right? We have signs like that in our military, and there's a sign when you're driving down a highway or whatever, a road, and there's a sign that pops up like a historic site sign. I forgot what you call them, but yeah, that's the sign they have on Mount Nebo to basically Moses stood at to basically look at the promised land. And why was Moses forbidden to enter the promised land? Okay, I'm going to read John chapter. Oh, that's the New Testament. All right, you must not know what you're talking about. Hold your horses. Pull back those reins. Yeah. Or get off that donkey. That Jack, whatever. That's their nickname, by the way. Get off that donkey. and use your common sense. I'll start with John chapter 4. He left Judea. Who's he? Jesus, or Yeshua, and departed again into Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, or Yeshua, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yeshua saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat, food, right? Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, I'm not saying that in a derogatory sense, but just trying to fix the brains of some people that basically their hatred knows no bounds about people they identify as Jewish. Then said the woman of Samaria, that's, or you want to fact check RH. This is the KJV version. John chapter 4, verse 9. Let's read this again. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. Yeshua answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Yeshua answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting life. The woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Yeshua saith unto her, Go, call thy husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yeshua said unto her, The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yeshua said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. In that saith thou truly. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worship in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Yeshua saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. What happened in 70 AD, right? Ye worship ye know not what ye know what we worship. For salvation is of the Jews, but the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Not like the liar and murderer from the very beginning. Okay, so what does this have to do with Moses and why Moses couldn't enter into the promised land? Remember, without the permission of God, he struck the rock. Remember that, which provided the living water. That was the living water. Oh, you ain't heard that in your places of learning? I don't like to say it in a derogatory way. You know, my eyes are open. Fact check that, please. The living water. Remember, even the conquistadors came over. Remember Ponce de Leon and his, I think it was, um, I can't remember the one that came after. There's a place called the Fountain of Youth in St. Augustine, right? They're looking for the Fountain of Youth in America. And all we really have to do is ask for the living water, right? All we have to do is ask. Or remember this, John chapter 4, verse 24. God is a spirit with a capital S, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So when you find out a lie, what are you supposed to do? If you've been helping to spread these lies or endangering our men and women in uniform. Now remember, I say this all the time. Sometimes I forget to say it. There's power in prayer. Please pray for our men and women in uniform, that we take down these mass murderers and murderers so they never can murder again. You think about how they've been stealing hand over fist tax dollars, how they're using that, basically creating these wars and these terrorist attacks for what? To put a premium on that crude oil leaving out of that area, right? Now they don't want to see it, right? They don't want to see it. Their hatred blinds them. Hatred blinds them so much that they go against their own survival and basically um, zero viewers, zero viewers. Zero viewers. Am I shocked? By the way, I wanted to make a thank you for all the viewers, all-time viewers over on Rumble. It's 102,000, just went over, I believe, 102,000. And even on YouTube, all-time viewers of this channel, over 80,000. So yeah, I don't have millions of people watching this channel, but they're still throttling this channel back because they don't want me to talk about the truth. They don't want me to expose them. Okay. I've done this before, and I'm going to do it again for anybody that's new in this channel. You want to have receipts? Well, let's have some receipts. Who's behind the psychological warfare operation / propaganda? During times of war and military or military type like tensions. Okay. So remember that reference when people say Jesus was not a Jew. And what was he then? Roman? You know, it's ridiculous. Just go to John chapter 4. Okay. No, this is these covert operatives and these teams of covert operatives, they are highly compartmentalized. Far more when the it was called the Special Activities Division. Remember, they altered it. They altered it. If all you got to do is read Special Activities Center in the Wikipedia, and you can read their mission statement. Okay. The unit, okay, it's called the Special Activities Center now. So I want y'all to know exactly who is behind this. Who helped the rise of power? Those that founded Hamas. Remember the Cairo, Egypt speech in 2009? Okay. The Special Activities Center. The unit was named Special Activities Division, SAD, prior to a 2015 reorganization. What was happening prior to 2015? Well, there's going to be a new sheriff coming to town, right? So they had to cover everything up. All the stuff they've been doing, even Uranium One deal, using Russia's the middleman for their Iran nuclear deal, right? They highly compartmentalized this stuff and embedded it. Most of that stuff was already totally destroyed, completely destroyed. Just like the J6 Unselect Committee actually destroyed government information, government material, government papers, you name it. They destroyed it. One of the members on their team, not Benny, his last name is Thompson. His first name is not Benny. Last name is Thompson. I forgot his first name. A Democrat congressman that was, I think, was the chairman of the Unselect Committee, right? He actually presented a bill to take away President Trump's protective U.S. Secret Service detail. So how'd they get around that? They just shut down the government and won't reopen the Department of Homeland Security that basically provides, that's like the parent or department that oversees the U.S. Secret Service, right? So they can put Trump in a kill box. It's just that simple. Oh, RH, you're just exaggerating, RH. You exaggerate everything, RH. Believe me, There are more of us than there are of them. I have complete faith in that. There are more of us than there are of them during this age of free will. And you can call it the age of grace. The unit was named Special Activities Division prior to a 2015 reorganization. Within SAC, Special Activities Center, there are at least two separate groups. At least. There's an anti-Trump group, right? There's an anti-Trump group. Ones that runs the media. There's an anti-Trump group, and there's an anti-Trump group. And behind the scenes, to basically put our president in a kill box. That's a military term. That's exactly what happened at Butler. Exactly what happened at Butler. Remember, they pulled his designated delegated team for his protection. They pulled it, and they put them with Joe Biden's husband. No, Joe Biden. With Joe Biden. She was in a hardened facility. Nobody's worried about what she does. And she was in a hard facility, and they diverted Trump's designated detail team to help Joe Biden protect her. What a boondoggle. You know, you got control of the entrances and exits, but you have Donald Trump out there without even any bulletproof glass around him or whatever, or ballistic glass or whatever you call it, right? Even when they had that guy at large, they already was tracking him. They allowed President Trump to get up there on that stage, which was the kill box. Why do you think crooks basically set up on the American Glass Research Company building? So we could have line of sight at Donald Trump that they put in a kill box. If it wasn't a kill box, then they would have removed them until the threat was eliminated. They didn't do that. And the First Lady asked the same question. Now, do we seriously believe these people are that stupid? Oh, the roof was too sloped. I won't even get into this again anymore. It's ridiculous how much these people have gotten away with. Remember, there was a man that lost his life that day. And by divine intervention, our president was saved. By just like a quarter or half an inch, maybe. And he did get shot in the head. Got shot in the ear. Golly. You know, and people keep saying that stuff. They don't, what do they think? It's funny? Just plain stupidity. Like when God cursed Cain off the surface of the earth into the earth, people don't seem to understand what the surface is. Basically, kicked Cain out where he couldn't even see God's face anymore. The face of God, which is a surface. Put, in my opinion, a mark. The mark, in my opinion, was a mark, a graven image. A mark of a graven image. So, let's go back to this real quick again. We're talking about the Special Activities Center. Special Activities Division prior to a 2015 reorganization within SAC. There are at least two separate groups, SAC and SOG, at least. So there could be multiple groups. regarding our E's, right? SAC-SOG, Special Operations Group for Tactical Paramilitary Operations, and SAC-PAG, Special Activities Center Political Action Group for Covert Political Action, which includes Welcome to the Machine. Welcome to the machine, everyone. Do we have dominion over our machines? No. There's access in foreign dominion and domestic dominion. Support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and have true faith and allegiance to the same. Not to the one that has the most money, not to the one that bids the highest. The Special Operations Group is responsible for operations that include clandestine or covert operations with which the U.S. government does not want to be overtly associated, which includes interfering in our own elections. So you don't want to be associated. You delegate that task to offshore sources, especially subverted officials in other countries. If they are compromised during a mission, the U.S. government may deny all knowledge, which includes our E's. That's what they're doing. Covering it up, taking the evidence to burn barrels, having burn barrel parties, or just smashing it with a hammer or wiping it with a cloth, right? They've been caught a long time ago. But there's so many of them. They had their hands in the cookie jar. A lot of these people got mega rich. And the ones that haven't got mega rich yet, or they're probably just got a little bit rich, they're saying, I want my hand in the cookie jar too. So nobody squeals on each other. So we'll never get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth unless it's divinely inspired. Or divine intervention, I should say, right? Okay, let's scroll down. The Political Action Group is responsible for covert activities related to political influence, psychological operations, economic warfare, and cyber warfare. Tactical units within SAC can also carry out covert political action while deployed in hostile and austere environments. Austere. That's foreign and domestic. A large covert operation typically has components that involve many or all of these categories, as well as paramilitary operations. Covert, political, and influence operations are used to support U.S. foreign policy and domestic policy. Remember the 15-1 intelligence individuals that said the Hunter Biden laptop had all basically the makings of Russian disinformation, or however they worded it. I don't care. As overt support for one element of an insurgency can be counterproductive, inserting themselves into our elections, both domestically and inserting themselves in elections like in Israel, when they tried to overthrow Bibi Netanyahu, when Obama's almost his entire campaign team flew to Israel to try to overthrow Benjamin Netanyahu to help provide assistance to that individual that was running against Netanyahu. Whether you like him or not, that's the God's honest truth what happened. And still to this day, these people are vehemently hate him. And that's going to be no, that's not going to be the last regime that they overthrow. As far as their plan and their movie, they're not just looking to overthrow Benjamin Netanyahu. They're looking to finish the job that they started with President Trump, the interloper. You want to know who the interloper is? Go to the Vanity Fair article, Why Hillary Clinton Cannot Be Stopped. I think that's the name of it. You'll find it. Read the first paragraph. That's all you got to do. Read the first paragraph. They talk in the clear about Bernie Sanders. They talk in the clear about um, um, Hillary Clinton. The precious face is referring to the elections. And the interloper, charming interloper, that's what they called him at first. Remember, they thought he was just playing a joke, right? How ridiculous. So, covert support for one element of an insurgency can be counterproductive due to the unfavorable impression of the United States to some countries as well as our own. In such cases, covert assistance allows the U.S. to assist without damaging the reputation of its beneficiaries. Like who? Like Barack Obama? He was a CIA construct. Remember what they did? Covertly, they used John Brennan, the Analysis Corporation, to help hack into the U.S. State Department to purge Barack Obama's official records. That's exactly what happened. That was a covert operation. You know what's crazy about this is the people that are risking their lives and every day in uniform and working for Intel in those organizations that are honest. You're not part of the club. You're not part of their club. You're not. And there's a lot of individuals that are part of the club. They, oh, I signed an NDA. Well, does your NDA and your silence going to basically going to get you out of a military tribunal if you're caught up in the operation to overthrow the United States of America and our duly elected government? Not only once, who knows how many times? Well, I still have an NDA. That's classified, RH. You don't have a need to know. You tell us what all we need to know in your own mission statement. Obviously, you got to go back here and check this, the source I'm reading, because you got some white hats in the midst of y'all, and you don't want this information to get. That's all right. We'll just make a file on people like RH, make him look like he's a nutcase, right? Interfere, preempt his channel, get him discombobulated, remote view him. Wow, what a freaking power you got, dudes or dudettes, whatever y'all are. What power! Need to start cleaning up your own front and backyards before you start going after people like us. Okay. The political action group within SAC, this is very important. conducts the deniable psychological operations, also known as black propaganda, as well as covert influence to induce political change. Where do you hear that term from? Hope and change. These are the key words: hope and change. It was a campaign slogan of Biden's first campaign or whatever. Remember, they brought along Joe because, that's how they're going to keep control of the White House, through the vice president position. The old Biden clan, they served 3 terms. Well, oh, I don't know, I've only served twice. Because you didn't want to be worried about all those patriotic ceremonies that we have, so you wouldn't have to wear your U.S. flag lapel pin or whatever. So you got your vice president to do it for you, right? During your 3rd term. That's exactly what happened. Basically, all of Biden's campaign team was Obama's campaign team. Some of them were basically promoted a great deal. Remember Avril Haines? You never even heard about her anymore. She was a major participant in the Event 201 global pandemic exercise based on the new coronavirus, sitting right next to George Fugao. Can't say Kung Fu virus because that's racist, right? The guy, this CCP CDC director, George Fugao, sat right next to Avril Haines. That was her right-hand man. He sat to her right. You can't make this stuff up. Global pandemic exercise based on the new coronavirus before the first case came to America. It's very, I can't even look at some of these people. Even if it's TV, I have to change the channel. Right before they open up their mouth, I know they're going to lie. Oh, there's going to be a lie mixed in with the truth, maybe. But the lies are doozies. You got to be fair and balanced, right? So you got to put some truth in there. So the political action group within SAC conducts the deniable psychological operations. And by the way, John Solomon's come out. Wow, we didn't know, right? I forgot the guy's name. The deputy CI director, who's acting CI director for a while. Forgot what his name is. I don't. It's not important. Covert intervention in foreign and domestic elections is the most significant form of SAC's political action, beginning in 2015, before President Trump got in office the first term. They set everything up. These are the guys and gals that created the fraudulent presidential funding to basically justify the illegal surveillance he had on President Trump's campaign, President Trump personally. Look at all those attacks on his financial records, you name it. Going back, 20 years? Not a single. Donald Trump had the most thorough special background investigation before he got in office than any man or woman in U.S. history. Who conducted that investigation? Who was in charge of it? Well, the CIA worked together with the FBI. But who was in charge of that operation? James Comey. Who else was in charge of that operation? Who became part of that operation as special counsel? Robert Mueller. Remember, you forget. I don't forget. Robert Mueller was called aggressively deceptive during the 9/11 criminal investigation. That came from the Senate Intelligence Committee chairman, Bob Graham. I didn't say that. He actually wrote books about it. Now listen to this. Organizing, remember, organizing for action, right? Covert intervention in foreign and domestic elections is the most significant form of special activity center political action. This involves financial support for favored candidates, media guidance, technical support for public relations, get out the vote, political organizing. Who's a political organizer in Chicago? Efforts, legal expertise, advertising campaigns, running advertisements using U.S. taxpayer dollars, assisting with poll watching, even, probably even in Fulton County. All right, we're shutting down the counting. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And as soon as they leave, right, pull out those containers from those black draped tables, right? Oh, they're not suitcases. It's a lie. They're not suitcases. They were containers with ballots in them. Isn't that good enough? What should I say? They're gay lords? Like the movie? Assistance with poll watching and other means of direct action. Like in Fulton County, right? Like in Maricopa County, right? Fulton County. Y'all can name more. Policy decisions are influenced by agents such as subverted officials of the country. Means that they got something on them, they can bring them into the club. I wonder if MTG has those problems and they brought her in. She sounds just like an operative, how she turned on Trump. You couldn't get over yourself, and support the president of the United States. If you're all knowing, why don't you just, since you're all knowing, maybe you could have gave President Trump some tips and try to overthrow him and be part of that gang. I'm not saying MTG, but these people are more apt to supporting the Death to America gang than they are President Trump. They hate him. They hate him that much. That's what causes their temptation. And the devil will provide the carrot. You're going to do what for me? What? Really? Policy decisions are influenced by agents such as subverted officials of the country to make decisions in their official capacity that are in the furtherance of U.S. policy aims. In addition, mechanisms for forming and developing opinions involve the covert use of propaganda. That's an understatement. Propaganda includes leaflets, newspapers, magazines, books, radio, and television, all of which are geared to convey a U.S. message appropriate to the region, which includes the United States. These techniques have expanded to cover the internet as well. That's an understatement also. They may employ officers to work as journalists, recruit agents of influence. You could hear them now. One of those major influencers had one of those free Palestine from the river to the sea, and it had a picture of Bibi with what is that? Genocide on his forehead, right? What the heck do you think free genocide from the river to the sea is? By the way, Israel includes people of all three Abrahamic religions. You ever go to the four quarters? Four quarters where the Muslims, the Jewish, the Christians, and the Armenians can worship freely in peace. Never went there though, right? In all such propaganda efforts, black operations denote those in which the audience is to be kept ignorant of the source. White efforts are those in which the originator openly acknowledges themselves, and gray operations are those in which the source is partially but not fully acknowledged. Now, I listened to a four-star general talk about, I just want to talk about this. I'm not going to call out any names. They basically, he said, Larijani had taken over for the Ayatollah, right, 18 months ago. And he was basically, he's the interim leader, I guess, of the IRGC, running the show. And his deputy, he said it was Soleimani. Now, he also said, now this is on Fox Business with Larry Kudlow, I believe his name is, right? Now, it's probably a mistake, but it got me to thinking, what if this wasn't a mistake? What if these were comms? Maybe the deputy of Larijani was like Soleimani. And he's trying to say maybe Larijani was running some of the operations in Ukraine. He said running the operation in Ukraine, which of course, if the mistake was, he meant to say his mind was on something else, and he meant to say Iran. He's running the show. And I guess on the 16th, the IDF took out Larijani and his deputy general. Those are the ones that were responsible for killing all those civilian protesters, right? Demonstrators. So what if a lot of those billions of dollars was being controlled in Ukraine to fund Iran's nuclear weapons program? Maybe that wasn't a mistake. You know, normally these guys, they're sharp as a whip. I'm telling you, they don't make mistakes. Now, the guy's name could have been the deputy general under Larijani that was hit, and I think they were both hit at the same time, or it could have been two separate attacks. But these are really bad hombres, right? Really bad. Real bad. So 18 months ago, Now, President Trump has been in charge. Basically, Johnny took over for Soleimani, right? Maybe he was running part of the Ukraine war against Russia. Maybe that's why Russia said they wasn't going to support Iran. Well, Putin said that basically the reason why there's like 1 million or 2 million Russian Iranians or basically Israelis that live there that speak their language, Russian, right? And that was the reason for him not basically helping Iran attack Israel, providing that's why Russia wasn't helping Iran, the IRGC, the Islamic Republic of Iran, attack Israel because it included about 2 million Russians or Russian speaking people. Could be even more. Who knows? And you hear the stories about the Ashkenazis and all that stuff, and they're not really Jews and all the, you hear that. But anyways, in the spiritual world, if someone practices the religion, they should be called the religion that they practice or the spiritual faith that they practice. Got a problem with the word religion. I had somebody ask me when I was talking about the lesser crime that Pontius Pilate created, which is biblical, who created the greater crime? Well, before Judas Iscariot betrayed Christ, who was he tempted by? Who entered Judas Iscariot before he betrayed Christ or Yeshua? The devil entered him. Okay, see, let's fact check RH again. I'll fact check myself for everyone so you can save the effort. Come on now, my brainwaves should be top of the search bar. I'm probably sure you probably wired into my brain already. I normally do. I fact check myself, but it got to be so. Satan entered Judas Iscariot, prompting him to betray Christ, as described in Luke chapter 22, verse 3, and John chapter 13, verse 27. Well, let's find it. Let's actually find it in scriptures. I don't want the NIV. Okay. John 13, 27, Luke. Okay, I'm going to go to the Luke. Just go to Luke 23 or 22, chapter 22, verse 3, KJV. So, when you take somebody's work, right? And you take the work that's been done before you, say in a previous class back in the 1600s, maybe, and you basically you translate the old ancient Hebrew manuscripts into the English language at the time, right? Old English. And then you translate the ancient Greek manuscripts into the English language. and you did all this work before, okay, and then you have new versions come out that basically makes it more understandable in our language, English language, more modern. But you take that work, right, and you just change a few words. You change a few words. Isn't that plagiarism? And make your own Bible. Wow. This is the King James Version Bible verse, Luke chapter 22, verse 3. Then entered Satan into Judas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. Okay. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12. See, they just changed surname, right? Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12. So they just changed one word in that sentence. You got a whole new Bible, right? That's how they did it. Then Satan entered into Judas' surname, not named, right? Or not called, right? Surname. See, they just changed one word from the King James Version Bible. Oh, that's the new version. I didn't know what surname mean. That's archaic name. Just say called now, okay? And we could write our whole new Bible. Think about all the money we're going to make. Go out there and say that King James was a homosexual, right? Get the rainbow and the lightning crowd to do that, you know? Start out in 1998. Go look at the history, the hyperlinks going right to these people. You know who they actually were. It was the rainbow and the lightning crowd trying to cause division in the Christian community. Remember, they were against the Western nuclear cell of a family. That's what he wrote. Bill Ayers put in his Communist Manifesto, planned to be released at ODART 30 on September 11, 2001. What was the grievances of the socialist/communist? Capitalism. That's the reason why they helped, in my opinion, set explosives in building the North Tower, the South Tower, and Building 7, and probably even the Pentagon. Highly covert operation, in my opinion. Don't blame me for talking about explosive demolitions in the towers, because that's what the first responders basically identified those explosions as. Secondary to the plane exploding on impact at the in the towers. Those were secondary after that explosion. So what was the other one, John? How's it saying John? Okay, John. Remember, that's the only change. They changed the term surnamed, which is the last name, right? Being of the 12. Who created the greater sin? Well, spiritually speaking, Satan did, right? Because he entered into Judas and tempted him to take the 30 shekels of silver, right? Exactly what happened. Okay, let's go. John chapter 13, verse 27. Go to the parallel Bible at the Bible Hub. So let's read the KJV first and see where they plagiarized the KJV. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Jesus unto him, that thou doest do quickly. Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, right? As soon as Judas took the bread, wait a minute, and after the sop, Satan, after the sop, as soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. He took the bread from Yeshua, right? So Yeshua told him, what you are about to do, do quickly. Let's see. Instead of one Wow. Wow. So there was, I don't know, 11:04 p.m. your time, Ken. So how long did I lose the live stream? Wow. So I was just showing y'all the translations. It's kind of like what you can say plagiarism, where they change some words around from the KJV and help make the NIV. It's very obvious when you go look at it. The KJV, I can understand all of it, what it's saying. I don't have to. So that's the reason why we have the Strong's Concordance. The complete Strong's Concordance of the KJV. So we look up words that others make or may not even consider to be archaic, and you can understand it. But sometimes you get more definitions or more thorough definition if you use a concordance. So in John chapter 13, verse 27, where it says Yeshua in the KJV, you have to learn the languages, the Greek and Hebrew and that kind of thing before. So KJV, John chapter 13, verse 27, and after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Jesus unto him, that thou doest do quickly. Now that's the KJV version, right? So you go to the Aramaic Bible in plain English, and after the bread, then Satan was brought into him, and Yeshua said to him, what you are doing, do quickly. So Yeshua. So let's go to the NIV version, right? As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. So Jesus told him, what you are about to do, do quickly. So it wasn't brought into him, it was said entered. So and after the sop, this is the KJV again, and after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Jesus unto him, what thou doest, do quickly. NIV, as soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. So Jesus told him, what you are about to do, do quickly. Okay. Now, I don't know how long that the audio was muted, so I have to go back and check real quick. Hopefully it wasn't long. It's kind of wild, when they're using devices, they can actually even look at your eyes where you're looking. You know what I mean? If you're not looking at you're looking at the screen or whatever, they know you're not looking. Okay, preempt the connection now. And I look at it and the connection's gone. I go, what? And I go back and refresh it. I have to refresh the whole entire live stream, right? Rumbling nicely, Area 111. Yeah, thank you, Minnesota. Good to see you here. I haven't seen you in a while. Um, yeah, so those that are now coming in, I don't want to make this live stream any longer than what it has already gone. So like 150, 1 hour, 50 minutes, so try to keep this at shorter video live stream. So I don't know when I lost audio. Hopefully I didn't lose audio that long. but I did lose audio. Okay, hold on a second. Turn the volume up. Y'all hear the echo here pretty soon? Kind of wild, you know. When they're using devices, they can actually look at your eyes where you're looking. Hold on a second. Yeah, man, they took down. I was going back and forth and searching those, reading from my phone. I guess they can see my eyes even. That's crazy. They have the ability to do that garbage. And so I was talking about the greater sin, right? So when I said, what? Now what's going on? This is crazy. I can't even hit play now. Wow. $153. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Rumble. Wow, I'm gonna have to refresh Rumble now again. It's acting up big time now. So you go to Aramaic, Bible in plain English, and after the bread, then Satan was brought into him, and Yeshua said to him, "What you are doing too quickly." So Yeshua. So let's go to the NIV version, right? As soon as Judas took the bread, Satan entered into him. So Jesus told him, "What you are about to do quickly." So it wasn't brought into him, it said entered. So yeah, I think I lost about 5 minutes maybe of the live stream, but all you have to do is rewind it, go back. If y'all lost me on YouTube, just go to Rumble because it looks like it appears that Rumble stayed up longer than YouTube did. Satan entered into him, so Jesus told him, "What you are about to do." So who committed the greater sin? Who committed the lesser sin? First of all, that's Pontius Pilate, right? You think, okay, because he puts his hand in a bowl of water and takes it out, symbolically speaking, he's absolved of his sins? No, that's not the way it works. Say you steal from somebody, you go, well, hold on a second, I'm going to go put my hands in this. I'm going to steal elections, right? I stole elections, right? Say, for example, that I stole the election, which is a joke. So I'm going to absolve myself of that crime. I'm going to go put my hands in a uh, in a bowl of water, and I'm absolved of my sins. Look at that. Wow. So I don't know exactly how long the audio uh, was out until I caught it and refreshed both YouTube and Rumble. So bear with me. Just go back to the beginning. I think y'all pretty much know what I was talking about anyways, so I don't need to go over it again. But anyways, I appreciate y'all's support and sharing this information. Now remember, in case you just got here, what's the source reference? Giant Voice in the clear, right? Mainstream media calling out real-time U.S. military positions, not only calling them out, but tracking them. Now, this is from the mainstream media news, right? An article they shared. They shared a MSM shared a CNN article. A U.S. Navy warship believed to be carrying Marines and sailors to the Middle East is nearing the Malacca Strait of Singapore as it makes its way to the region. Maritime tracking data showed Tuesday. So they're tracking the data. That's where they say they got it from, but they're probably getting real time or near real time as close as possible to real time. They're probably getting real time satellite locations, right? And that's probably where they're going as far as the maritime tracking. They're looking for that. And who were they? Who were they tracking? They show you actually in the article. Now, what's the article called? U.S. warship believed to be carrying additional Marines to Middle East tracked off Singapore. Tracked. Okay. And right under that, this is CNN article that they're showing a CNN photograph. Hold on a second. So, a U.S. Navy warship believed to be carrying Marines and sailors to the Middle East is nearing the Malacca Strait of Singapore as it makes its way to the region, maritime tracking data showed Tuesday. The amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli was approaching Singapore at the southwestern edge of the South China Sea Tuesday morning. That was the 17th. According to AIS tracking data seen by CNN. Right. So remember, we've taken out the adversaries satellites, right? There's Space Command that's basically running the satellite intel, real-time positioning. So these people feel obliged because they hate Trump, in my opinion. This is my opinion. They're going to share to Iran leadership, the regime, real-time tracking data of the USS Tripoli. And they're even going to tell you how many troops are on board the Tripoli, right? So on another major influencer platform, they're saying basically once body bags of our ground troops start coming home, he said 5,000, Trump will have to resign. See, that's the last regime change. That's their last Delta, right? Remember who has been trying to take down Benjamin Netanyahu all this time? It's the Biden clan. Not only did the Biden clan give the ability for Iran to develop nuclear weapons, they basically funded it and their proxies with $150 billion in over, I believe it is, over $1 billion in cash on pallets. President Trump talked about that today in one of his conferences, or what do you call it? yeah, conference, whatever. So all these people, and remember, see, they are attacking Trump's economy, right? Going back to October 17, 2019, it's the same people. I mean, top level economists gave the information. Forgot the name of them now. Um, top level economists basically gave CNN the information. Democrats need to sharpen their attacks on the comms. Democrats need to sharpen their attacks on the Trump economy to basically, you know what? That was October 17, 2019, to take down our economy. They're doing everything they can to take down Trump's economy right now, right? Maybe they're help creating false flags. Who knows? I don't put them past it. And just think, we're coming up on midterms. They're going to be their spring of love, summer of love operations, all the rest of it, right? These people are traitors, in my opinion. They should be held accountable. So, where have they done this before? Okay. Where have they done this before? Calling out real time. I just had the operation up, pulled it up earlier. Okay. To go to history, so bear with me real quick. Okay, I watched the mainstream media actually call out real time IDF ground troop locations in real time. I watched them do it with my own eyes. This report, okay, now that was during Israeli defense operations during Operation Protective Edge in 2014. Remember who's in charge, right? Remember how they basically heavily compartmentalized Special Activity Center Political Action Group. Remember that? They're calling out IDF real-time locations so they can be murdered or killed. Remember, they were trying to seal up those tunnels and protect their wall, right? That's what they're doing during Operation Protective Edge in 2014. And I think they called it out in Operation Cast Lead in 2009, but I'm not sure. Then you had Operation Pillar of Defense in 2012. They probably mainstream media called out all of them. They called out Benjamin Netanyahu's location about a maybe week and a half ago. I actually remember when they were doing that. I was saying, who's ever providing that real live footage, they're trying to get Benjamin Netanyahu killed. Okay, so with that said, remember, I believe in prayer 100%. Let's pray that God intervenes to help protect all our men and women in uniform, our military, our our current government, President Trump, his cabinet members, his family, the United States of America, and every single innocent man, woman, and child that are just victims of circumstance in all these wars. Okay? Please, Heavenly Father, we need your help. We need your help. Okay, so with that said, good evening, good day, good evening, good morning, wherever you're from. This concludes the live stream. And remember, in God we trust. Good night.